the scent of potpourri, films we commit to memory. Crossing the felt ropes, watching from home on my TV, looking at all my eyes can see. They tell me I view obsessively.
Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at obsessiveviewer.com, and while every episode will always be free, if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for tons and tons of bonus audio content, including TV and book reviews, immediate reaction movie reviews, Patreon potpourri episodes, movie commentary tracks, book reactions, I already said that, and much more. I'm your host, Matt Hurt, and you can find me on social media, including Letterboxd at Obsessive Viewer. And today on the show, we're doing an extended potpourri where we go back and forth talking about a bevy of things we've watched lately in non-spoiler reviews. It's a full-length extension of the potpourri segment that ends our normal episodes. And joining me today to do this, of course, is my co-host Tiny, who can be followed on social media and Letterboxd at Obsessive Tiny. Tiny, how's it going? And welcome to episode 400 of the Obsessive Viewer podcast. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, yeah, going great.
Yeah.
400 episodos.
400.
Craziness.
Hundo. Like that is a number. Like that is wild. Like do you know what episode 300 was?
Like when was it?
What it was. That should give you an idea of when it was too. It was one of the only episodes that was me going solo. It was me talking about Disney Plus.
Shit, really?
Like just coming out Disney Plus. I reviewed the Lady and the Tramp remake and that movie Noelle, I think. And talked about Jeff Goldblum's show and High School Musical, the musical. That was episode 300.
Wow. So that was like what? Probably
that was
5 years ago?
Years ago, yeah. Let me look up real quick and see when it was. Because I'm curious about that. Yeah, it's like a lifetime ago, honestly. Like it's
what it feels like.
Wild. Yeah. Because I mean, we already this summer we celebrated 10 years. Yeah. Okay. November 10th, 2019 was episode 300. And we've been doing it for 10 years. So that's crazy. Yeah.
Almost 4 years to the dot ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Cause it's already November. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about 400 episodes of The Obsessive Viewer?
It's awesome, man.
Nice.
I mean, when you really think about how many that is, because if you think at the time, because how many episodes do we have that are over 2 hours? I mean,
quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah.
We have more than a handful that are 3 hours. So, I mean, that's just the amount of time. That's just insane.
Yep.
And, you think there's 52 weeks in a year. That's, almost 8 years worth of podcasting right there. But,
right.
No, it's actually 10 years that we've been doing this. But, and then take into account that you have your own solo podcast and you do a bunch of Patreon stuff by yourself. And then we have Tower Junkies has almost 80 episodes now.
I think maybe 90.
Is it that close?
I think so. So Tower Junkies, we have on Tower Junkies, we have 92 episodes.
Dang.
Yep. And then
bananas, man.
It is crazy. Anthology. Jesus Christ. I've done 164 episodes of Anthology.
Wow.
Which I need to bring that back. And since I finished season 3 of The Twilight Zone, I need to have you on to do the kind of in between seasons episode reviewing a Rod Serling movie. So I'll talk more about that to you at some point. But
yeah, we'll hash something out.
Yeah. And then of course there's Patreon, which there is a total of, I want to say and this is a little bit of an inflated number because there is maybe 30 early access episodes on there. So this is maybe not an exact figure because of the early access episodes, which are basically what you guys are listening to now, but earlier. 682 posts on Patreon.
Holy shit. I was not expecting that.
Yep. 682 on Patreon this weekend. So I'll just kind of go into my spiel about Patreon. Guys, help me pay my rent and join Patreon. I say that laughing, but it's maybe not that much of a joke. But anyway, but no, Patreon, there is, I do a ton of stuff. At the $2 level, that is where you get probably the most bang for your buck. But here in a few weeks, screener season is starting, award season is starting. And when that happens, I post a lot of Patreon potpourri on the $5 and above tiers. That's basically me. Like, I will watch screeners. I will set aside like an entire evening and weekend to watch screeners, and then when I watch 4 of them, I talk about them in a full-length Patreon potpourri episode on Patreon for $5 and above levels, and it's all like movies during award season and stuff that I watch for awards consideration and everything. But that's what's to come on Patreon. Like, what I have now is I do a lot of immediate reaction reviews, which is basically when I see a new release movie, I will share my immediate reaction to it. So most anything that I watch that's from the year 2023, I will post a thing, an immediate reaction. I have posted this year alone on Patreon just immediate reactions. This is not including the book reviews. This is not including the any of the other things, the TV reactions or anything. This year alone, from January to now November 1st, I have posted 43 immediate reaction episodes on Patreon. It is insane.
You are a machine.
Thank you. Yes, I can't compute that feeling. No, I'm very proud of it. And, check it out. Patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And there's also a Patreon shop where you can buy things individually, grouped up and everything. So you'll see like immediate reactions during like, groups of like 15 or so, grouped together and everything. All that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And again, helps me pay my rent and the fees to keep the podcast running and everything. So
nice.
Yes. So, 400. Awesome. I'm very excited for 400 more and more after that.
Absolutely.
Yes. I also think I did the math, or not math, but I basically plugged all the episodes into a VLC player, and I could see that I think the total runtime of all like 399 episodes all together, I want to say that it was 30 days worth of audio.
Jeez.
I think. So yeah.
Wow.
So keep that in mind. We have released 30 days worth of audio on the main feed.
That's insane.
It is insane. It is very much insane.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, extended potpourri. So congratulations on this milestone, Tiny, and I'm very excited for us to keep doing this until we're gone.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. So we are going to get into extended potpourri, which is the like I said, it's the extension of the potpourri segment of our regular episode. So basically, we're going to be kind of going round robin, talking about movies, shows, and whatever that we have watched lately. So before we get into the round robin of that, I have 2 pieces of news that I want to talk about. Actually, 3 pieces of news, if you wouldn't mind me getting us kicked started with those 3 things.
Go for it.
Okay. So the first one is going to be brief because it doesn't have like actual information, but it's a little bit of a crossover with Tower Junkies because I think Variety reported that the long shelved Salem's Lot remake that was supposed to come out like 2 years ago and then got pushed to last year and then was supposed to come out this year and then just disappeared from the release slate. It was replaced by Evil Dead Rises. That is, I have been under the assumption that it was going to be shelved and it was going to be Batgirled. Like we weren't going to see it. But now the scuttlebutt is that it's going to be dumped on Max at some point. So I don't know when, but it'll be interesting to see that and talk about it on Tower Junkies. Yeah.
They've been talking about it for years at this point.
Exactly. Are you looking forward to it? What are your thoughts on that?
I was never super excited about it. I don't know why. I guess I just don't necessarily need it. I don't know. It's another remake, you know. There's a lot of original King stuff out there that can be made. But I don't know. I don't even remember many of the details, like who's involved and stuff. So
yeah, it's Gary Doman. I'm not sure, but one of the producers of it. So I mean, we'll see. I just recently reread Salem's Lot for October just because of the vibe and everything of it. And it's never been a novel that's really spoken to me or really impressed me all that much. But this time around, I actually kind of my affinity for it grew a little bit, and I think that it could be done well if it was remade and adapted. So I don't know. You've
Nice.
read Salem's Lot, right?
yeah, it's been quite a while though.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to see Mike Flanagan do it.
Oh my God, yes.
But I mean, I'd love to
Yes.
See Mike Flanagan do fucking Sesame Street. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, speaking of Mike Flanagan, like you said, yeah, you want to see like original Stephen King stuff. He is currently filming The Life of Chuck.
Nice.
SAG-AFTRA, like they did a whole, like it is within the rules of the strike and everything because it is a fully independent production. But he is filming The Life of Chuck. It's got Mark Hamill, Tom Hiddleston, Heather Langenkamp, Matthew Lillard, and there was a bunch of other people that were announced. A lot of his recurring actors that he uses. I'm sure Kate Siegel's in it. A bunch of people, like the full cast was announced, and I'm floored. I can't wait because I love that novella so much.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah. So I'm very excited. Very excited. And then once that's done, he can start working on the Dark Tower.
For real.
So yeah. Yep. But that's what I got for those news items. Really quickly, there was another news item that came out that there's going to be a sequel that is planned to be filmed in 2024, a sequel to It Follows called They Follow with Maika Monroe reprising her role, and the director whose name I am forgetting. The director is coming back for it as well. God, why can't I think of his name? David Robert Mitchell. So there's going to be a sequel to It Follows. How do you feel about that?
Really surprised. I mean, It Follows was that 8 years ago?
2014 or 15, I think. I think it had like a festival run in 2014 and was released in 2015, like wide release.
A while ago.
Yeah.
I'm all for it because I loved It Follows. I
Me
thought
too.
the feel and style of that movie was so freaking cool. So I mean, I'm all for it.
Nice. I am a little reticent about it just because it's been so long and I don't know what angle he can come at it from to make it interesting. Because one of the best things about It Follows is there are so many different threads to it that it can be interpreted in so many ways. We talked about that for like 3 separate episodes when it came out on the podcast, and there were so many different different angles that we can come at, like from sexual assault angle and basically parental trauma, like a bunch of different things. Like it is a very, very smart movie, and I'm very curious how it could be expanded upon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I could see it being a huge failure, unfortunately.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't want that, but
Right.
yeah.
And then the final piece of news that I have is that, was it Sunday or Monday? I think it was Sunday. Matthew Perry passed away.
Yeah.
Obviously very famous for Friends and the whole 9 yards and a whole bunch of other stuff that he's done. He passed away, and this was this is one of those celebrity deaths that affected me a little bit, mostly because I was a huge fan of Friends growing up. Like, I loved that show. I adored it. But it also didn't surprise me, because, and this is the kind of weird thing about it, is that the last time we did an extended Potpourri episode was episode 392, and in it I talked extensively about his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, and I talked about how I did not like that book. Like, I was very disappointed, and I felt like it painted him in a very bad light, and there was a lot of issues with it that even though he does have there is good things in it about his recovery and his work with people who are struggling with addiction and everything. That is phenomenal. But there was just a lot of issues that came up with me reading the book and everything. But and I will say that I stand by those thoughts. Like, I still have those same feelings about the book and everything, but his death it kind of rocked social media and was particularly effective to me because I was such a big fan of Friends and everything. And I have this whole thought process of why it's personally affecting for especially people our age who grew up watching Friends and everything. But I don't know. How did you respond to the news of Matthew Perry's passing?
Just surprised. I was really surprised. You know, I if it was 10 years ago, I would have been less surprised, you know, when he was still suffering through his addiction issues.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure how long he was sober, but yeah, I just wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't. And I think he was always my favorite character on Friends. And I such a shame that he never really had much else as far as a body of work goes. I mean, the whole 9 yards, that franchise, I thought was great. And he was hilarious. Those movies still hold up really well. But other than that, I feel like he doesn't have a lot to his credit, you know? And it's just a shame because I feel like he's comedically a genius. You know, there's all these stories and everything about Friends where, you know, he was eventually encouraged to kind of ad-lib or take a line and make it his own, and he really made it his own and improved a lot of the writing on that show, and it just speaks to his talent as a comedic person. And it's just a big loss and really sad.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think one of the big things that sticks out to me about the staying power of Chandler Bing really is that one of the things about that show that I like, Friends, like was a cornerstone of my upbringing. Like I like when I was a teenager, I would buy the DVDs the day they came out. I remember specifically when like season 5 or 6 came out on DVD, like I faked being sick to stay home from school, and I had my mom take me to Circuit City to buy the DVD. And like, I remember like in the summer, I would stay up all night, literally watching an entire season on DVD. like manually taking out the discs and changing them in like a 6-disc set. I adored that show. And I think one of the special things about Friends, and we did a whole, like Mike and I did a whole Friends retrospective episode. That's one of those like almost 3-hour episodes that we did. I'll link in the show notes and everything. But one of the important things about that show, I think, was that it was a true ensemble show. Like, it was 6 main characters, main cast members. They're like early in the run, David Schwimmer convinced everyone that no matter how this goes or anything, like no matter what, whenever we go to like renegotiate our contracts and everything, we do it as a single unit. And like that's what they did. And this show ran for 10 seasons. I don't have like 270 some episodes. That could be something I'm pulling strictly out of my ass, but over 200 episodes, and all 6 of the cast was in every single episode. And that is monumental. Like, that is nuts. Because it was one of the most popular shows of all time, basically. And like, just the fact that, you know, there wasn't like, sure, there was a lot of the Friends cast were doing like movies and stuff and everything, but like never interfering with the shooting or anything. And then also tragically, like Matthew Perry's abuse, like substance abuse issues and everything were like, he was using, like he was addicted to painkillers and alcohol, through a lot of the show. And like, it came to a point where the cast had to convince him to like seek help and everything and like stage an intervention for him and everything. But anyway, all of that's to say that I think that the staying power of Chandler Bing, and the reason why a lot of millennials, at least like people our age, are so affected by it, is because while that show was an ensemble series that had 6 different characters all in every episode, there is something particularly special about Chandler and the Chandler and Monica arc. And I haven't really talked about this or thought it, like I've just thought about it and I haven't vocalized it or anything, but like the show was a mega hit, and 4 seasons in, they decided to, at the end of one of the seasons, they hooked Monica and Chandler up. And so that's like the end of season 4. So for the majority of the series, we see the romantic arc of Monica and Chandler going like it goes through all of its paces. They have their ups and downs, they have their struggles, they have all of these things, engagement, marriage, fertility issues, career changes, all of these things. And I think that is, I would say that like millennials who watched that growing up, especially millennials at an impressionable age, and even, you know, Gen Z, but like people who watch that at an impressionable age, like that is some of, like in terms of relationship, like viewing relationships, we saw an entire relationship throughout the entirety of the series. And like, there's already this idea that sitcoms and sitcom characters can leave an indelible print on the audience's like mind and everything, because this is a comfort show. This is a show that you watch to be comforted, and it's a show that is comedic, and you get into a bubble or whatever where you feel like, yeah, maybe this is like, it is like you're friends with them, like not literally, but like it has those same kind of properties. So I don't know, I'm rambling, but I kind of feel like there's something there in terms of like millennials experiencing the Chandler and Monica arc throughout the series, and that's why Matthew Perry's death has a deep impact on the audience who grew up watching it. So I don't know. Thoughts?
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree. He was,
Nice.
friends and Chandler were a staple. Of our coming of age. So
yeah.
I mean,
and he was also not the voice of reason in the series, but he was the sarcastic mirror for the series. Like, he was the one who was probably closest to the audience in terms of perspective. Like, he would point out the goofiness of the situations and everything. So I don't know, always fun
for sure.
Yeah. The other thing, and then we can get into extended potpourri. The other thing about his death that really has bothered me, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, I just want to rant for a second, but like, we have talked about how we are TikTok boys now, and I am a TikTok influencer now, creating content. I'm an honorary Gen Z, but I'm so sorry. But something that I've seen on TikTok in the wake of Matthew Perry's passing is a handful of people that have come across my For You page. The algorithm has sent them into my eyeballs, that people are looking at his Instagram, seeing like some erratic behavior, and people talking about how he was vaccinated and suddenly he died. Like, it is... Not only is it disrespectful and unbelievably stupid, but it is just infuriating. It is infuriating because, like, I saw a TikTok where someone said, like, it's like one of the ones that's talking about like how he was vaccinated. That's a whole thing, but she was like, he was 54, he's so young and perfectly healthy, and it's like, he wasn't though. Like, it is common knowledge. For decades, he had substance abuse problems. In his memoir, he talks about how he was consuming upwards of, I think, 60 Vicodin a day. And it reached a point where he had in the recent past, in the last 5, 6, or 7 years, he had severe medical issues. He had a perforated, like, his gastrointestines were perforated and had to be like, he had to have emergency surgery to sew it up. His colon exploded and he was in a coma with a 2% chance of survival for 2 weeks. And at one point, I guess the top row of his teeth just fell out. Like, he was not in good health. He was also a heavy smoker for decades. Like, the idea that this man who has survived so much, and as tragic as it is, and as sad as it is, it, like, when reading his memoir, as much as I kind of didn't like the memoir itself, reading it, I was like, as dark as this is, it's kind of a miracle that he has lived this long, because of the abuse that he, like, his addiction and his disease, basically. And so for people to knee-jerk react to his death with conspiracy theories and talking about how, like, oh, he was found drowned in a hot tub, that doesn't make sense, the math isn't mathing. It's like, yeah, it is. If he had a cardiac arrest episode in his jacuzzi, like, yes. Like, it's just, it's infuriating. So anyway, that was...
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Anyway, any thoughts on Matthew Perry?
Still sad. I mean, it's really a bummer. I was kind of hoping that I feel like he was kind of ripe or kind of prime for a comeback, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, he could have... I know he tried that over the years. He kind of was involved in shows, and he just never took off for whatever reason. But it's just, it sucks.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I remember, like, in his memoir, when he's talking about, I think one of his shows that I think was canceled midway through the first season, I think, was Go On, about a widower who volunteers or works with a support group for people who have lost people or something like that. He spoke very highly and passionately about that show, about that project, and also like The Odd Couple with Thomas Lennon. He had a clear passion for what he did, for the work that he did and everything. And it's just like, yes, he has friends, and yes, friends is what he's going to be remembered for and everything. And I do appreciate that people are pointing out the way that he in his later life helped people with addiction and everything. Like he helped people get off of alcohol and substances and everything. I remember there was a TikTok of Hank Azaria talking about how kind Matthew Perry was, and how he was directly or indirectly responsible for Hank Azaria getting sober, and he has now been sober for like 17 years now. So
wow,
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's sad. It's tragic. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want to get into extended potpourri, Tiny?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have several things, but I'm gonna just kind of. Do you mind if I get us kicked off, and then we can kind of round robin?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, full caveat, most, if not all of these, I have immediate reaction recordings on Patreon. They run about 22 to 25 minutes long, each one. And so you can check that out for more in-depth stuff there. But that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. The first movie I'm going to talk about is a movie that I saw in the theater a week or so ago. It is the new Martin Scorsese movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, which I have a clip from the trailer that I will play right now.
There are many, so many hungry wolves. Can you find the wolves in this picture?
So, Killers of the Flower Moon, the premise is when oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. The director is, of course, Martin Scorsese. Writers are Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese, based on the book by David Gran, and the cast includes Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone. I rated this movie 4 stars, Tiny, out of 5. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
I have not, and I'm not sure if I'm going to in the theater.
Yeah, I understand that. It is, I would say, if there is any way that you can see it in the theater, I would very much recommend it, because it is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous movie. Cinematography is incredibly good. I mean, it's a Martin Scorsese movie, obviously, so it's going to look incredible, but the attention to detail and the kind of the wide landscapes and everything is just incredible. The movie's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic, and I love that Martin Scorsese can create something this intricate and well done at, the age that he is. And it's remarkable. The movie is like, there are some issues that I have with it here and there. In particular, like Lily Gladstone is a little bit underused in it, but she is also like the emotional core of the movie. And what she does in this movie in terms of her performance is absolutely outstanding. Like, it is this understated performance where so much of what's going on, like the emotion of it, is carried on her shoulders, and it is this just incredibly painful performance that she gives, and it is astonishing. And then of course you have freaking Leo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, that they're incredible too as well. It's a really good movie. Yeah, I don't have much else to say that I didn't already say on Patreon and everything, but the way that the events of the movie unfold, it's really, again, the cinematography, the characterization, and the way that, in particular, so Robert De Niro's character is kind of the figurehead of, for lack of a better word, evil. Like, the whole movie is about white men taking, like, maneuvering to take the wealth of the Osage Nation out from under them. And in doing that, the way that they do that is murder, and is by murdering them and everything. And it is so cold and calculating, but what I found so remarkable about Robert De Niro's performance and the way that the character is written is that he is not an outwardly evil person, and it's more cold and chilling that way because he is reacting and making choices that are literally ending lives of people close to people that are close to him. And he's doing it without, like, it's like breathing. It's second nature for him. And the way that Robert De Niro, like, brings that out in his performance is so chilling in a way that I hadn't seen, like, in terms of, like, a sociopath on screen, or someone who is not afraid or even conscious of consequences of what they're doing. And there's deeper, like, meaning and subtext to mine from that they don't see Indigenous people as human beings and everything. Like, there's ingrained bigotry in that as well. But, like, just the way that De Niro performs it is remarkable. And DiCaprio has this whole, like, kind of aw shucks sort of, like I saw an article that referred to him as being like a dopey, like, dumb hick character. And it's, like, spot on. Like, it's kind of spot on, but, like, he has this like, I guess kind of light conflict within him, but he's still duty bound to his relatives. It's a very interesting dynamic in it, but I loved it. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Does the 3.5 hour runtime, like, does it feel like it? And is it kind of draggy in some parts?
It really isn't. It is. Here's the thing, like there's been a lot of press about that, about it being like 3.5 hours and no intermission and everything and all of that. Like, yeah, in my head, I'm just like, okay, boohoo. Like, you, like, if you sit on the couch and watch like 5 episodes of The West Wing or something, then you can sit through 3.5 hours of Scorsese goodness. But the pacing is very well done, in my opinion. It doesn't feel like 3.5 hours to me, and I could hold my water throughout it. So I had no issues with the runtime. I was engaged with it the entire time. I was invested in the story. And the cinematography, the attention to detail, all of that is gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And have you read up on it or anything? Are the actors in the movie, are they I don't know how else to say this. Are they ethnically accurate? Like, are these actual Osage Native Americans? Do you know?
Believe so, but I have not read up on any of that. So that's just a whole lot of conjecture on my part.
I was just wondering if you went for like if Marty Scorsese went for like full authenticity over like appearance or like whatever. Like, I was just wondering what influenced the casting choices of those characters.
I see. Yeah, it could be. I don't think. I don't know. I can't speak to it. Yeah.
Okay, just curious. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like if it's still in theaters, at Christmas time, like where I have some days off, I might go see it.
Nice.
It's not that I don't want to. It's just I don't know if I can talk Paige into sitting in the thing for 3.5 hours.
No, I totally get that. And like, that is already a big commitment. It's funny because like I saw it, I think opening weekend, and I was kind of looking through like Fandango and like the AMC app and everything, and I was just like looking, and I was thinking like I prefer to see a movie in Dolby at AMC. That's my preferred way to do it. But the only Dolby screening, thanks to the Eras Tour, the only Dolby screening that weekend for Killers of the Flower Moon was a 7 p.m. showing. And I'm 37 years old, Tiny. I can't, like, that is the movie ending at, like, the runtime of the movie. If the movie itself started at 7, it would end at 10:30, and then you would also have to account for 25 minutes of trailers, and that's like 11 o'clock. And I couldn't do that. And what was mind-blowing to me was that they actually had like 10:45 screenings. Like for 10:45 p.m. Like, I can't imagine stumbling out of the theater at like 2 a.m. just about.
No way.
Yeah, there's no way.
I could do the 7, but wow, 10:40, no way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. But I ended up seeing it in IMAX. So yeah. But
nice.
Yeah. I'd highly recommend it though. It is, I will likely be talking about it at the end of the year, but I will say I have had quite a lot of good fortune with movies this year that are in contention for top 10. So
wow, nice.
Yeah. Yep. What do you have for us for your first potpourri segment, Tiny?
My first entry is a little documentary that I learned about on I think it was on TikTok actually.
Oh.
It was on Max, and it is called BS High.
Nice. I have a trailer clip. Would you mind if I play that right now?
Go for it.
Okay, here's a clip from BS High. Oh.
IMG to kick off to Bishop Sycamore.
Do you want my hands like this, like that?
Just be natural. You don't have to try.
Coach Roy Johnson told us they had a number of Division I prospects.
Too high, tip, intercepted. Thanks to the pick 6. Into the end zone. He'll waltz in, and that will do it.
Do I look like a con artist?
How this happens got a lot of people scratching their heads.
So, Tiny, tell me about BS High. I had not heard a single thing about it until you brought it up in our chat before recording.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this back in 2021. Basically, this guy from Ohio, Roy Johnson Jr., I think is his name. I don't know why. Like, it's still a mystery as to why he wanted to do this. He basically started a fake high school football team. There's this interesting trend over the last 20, 30 years where there's these college prep academies they're legitimate schools, but they're essentially sports. They're athlete factories is what they are.
Okay.
But the most famous one is IMG Academy, which is in I don't even know what that stands for. It's in Florida somewhere. But basically, like, every senior that graduates from their football team goes to a D1 school, and a lot of them end up in the NFL, and it's like it's like an unprecedented thing. But there's academies like that all around the country, and the thing is, they're legitimate. They're kids pay tuition, they go to school, and they get an education. A lot of them are academically gifted as well. But basically, this guy wanted to do that, but just didn't care about the academics at all. He convinced a local school in Columbus, Ohio, that was a college prep academy, but was not an athletic. It wasn't an athlete factory. It was just a legitimate college prep academic school. And he convinced them to let him start a sports program. And he basically just was picking kids up off the street that had some athletic ability and never enrolled them in school and was putting them up in a hotel. He was recruiting kids from across the country. He was recruiting kids who were like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old to play high school football.
Good God.
Yeah, and he was like swindling hotels and restaurants and places like that. Like he was printing fake checks and like cutting a check to the hotel and then moving all the kids out. And before they find out that it's a fake check, he's got all the kids out of there at another hotel. And like it was bananas. And somehow he hired like a sports agent type guy to go out and talk to some of these really big like national high school football teams, like some of the big teams out of Ohio and Texas and Bishop Gorman and Las Vegas, IMG Academy. Mm-hmm. And this guy got them like one of the most exciting schedules in college or in high school football that year, including playing IMG. And that game made it onto ESPN. And they got absolutely destroyed, like 58-0. But
Jesus,
it basically just broke, and the news of this thing finally broke, and it all got dissolved. And anyways, I'm kind of rambling on it. You can just watch the documentary and get all this information. But it's just astounding to me that how poised the system was to allow something like this to happen. Like, it's because what's funny is he's not in jail. Like, he didn't do anything illegal. Like, the state of Ohio investigated him and they were like, man, that's fucked up. And then that was it. Yeah. Like, they can't because it was a religious institution it was started as a religious institution. BS High, by the way, stands for Bishop Sycamore, which is completely, that's the name of the high school that he created.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That is like that. Wow. Okay. Like that is the name that the high school that he created.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like, that reminds me of the, oh God, what was it? The, whatever the institution in Accepted, that spells like SHIT.
South Harmon
Institute of Technology. Shit. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That is incredible.
Yeah. But anyways, the documentary was really fascinating because this guy, Roy Johnson Jr., he's in the documentary. Like, they interviewed him multiple times, and he is a definitive sociopath, completely unremorseful about any of this. Like, to call him a character would be an understatement, because he is for sure, but he's just so, like, I don't even know if I can call him evil, but he was just like, I don't even know how to describe him. It's his lack of remorse for this is insane, because he took some kids who were 16, 17, 18 years old, and they had no academics for a year or two. Like, jeez. And some of these kids were athletically gifted. Like, one of the kids was trying to get into a college, and the college was interested in him. But once they found out about the Bishop Sycamore thing, they were like, well, you didn't even go to school for a whole year, so sorry. Like, and like his chance is gone. You know,
yeah.
He ruined the lives of a bunch of these kids, and it's funny because it's just none of it's illegal. It was not illegal what he did, and he's the guy. He's still out there. Like, he doesn't have a football team anymore. But the documentary is cool. It's interesting because they talk to all these kids who were players. They have him and his lack of remorse, and it's interesting to see the tapestry of bullshit that he weaves in order to defend himself, even amongst all these testimonials from these kids who were on his team. Yeah. And it's a really remarkable story. Of course, probably the worst thing is that he was charging these kids tuition, like,
oh yeah,
or their parents. And a lot of these kids were from inner city Columbus, or really they're from all over the country. Actually, they were from Texas and Florida and New York, and some of these kids didn't have any money, and he gave some of these kids a form, and he was like, hey, this will be a form you fill this out and you can apply for a loan that will cover your tuition.
Oh God.
It was a fake form, and he had them like write down their social security number. And then he filed for a PPP loan in their name to pay
Jesus
for their tuition. And so like they were interviewing some of these kids, and they're like, so did you ever take out a PPP loan to pay for your tuition? And they were just like, no, I don't even know what that is. And then they show them the paperwork, like, you owe $20,000. Like, I mean,
that's horrible.
Yeah, but they can't prove it. They can't prove that he did that. Like, because it's like these kids filled out a form, and it's his word against theirs. I mean, it's insane how smart this guy was. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, it's a really fascinating documentary, and the story is just absolutely bananas.
Wow, awesome. Well, that is BS High. It is on Max. I just recently, within the last couple of months, canceled my Max subscription. So,
oh no shit.
Yeah. So I will check it out at some point.
Cool.
But yeah, wow, that sounds really interesting. Shall I go to my next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this might be a little bit brief. I went to a screening of The Killer last week, I think. And The Killer, I don't have a trailer clip for it, but basically The Killer is the new David Fincher movie. The premise is, after a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal. Like I said, the director is David Fincher, writer is Andrew Kevin Walker. This is the first collaboration of David Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker since Seven, I think. In 97 or 8, I'm not sure, I can't remember when, but starring as the titular killer is Michael Fassbender. And as of this recording, it is in limited release in theaters now. It is going to be hitting Netflix on November 10th, and I rated it 3 stars, which isn't bad. Like, I found that this movie was a very interesting exercise in process. A lot of it, the majority of this movie is Michael Fassbender. Like, we are in his perspective. He gives voiceover narration. He has his mantras, his different things he has for how he handles his job as a contract killer. And I kind of went back and forth with this, with my feelings on this movie, because it is very, very cold. It is very dry, cold, and sterile, basically. And beneath that cold exterior, it is kind of an antithesis to traditional, like, assassin movies that are all bombastic and huge blockbusters and everything. Instead, it's this cold treatment of, unfortunately, the same plot. Like he has like a near miss. There is an incident on a job that goes awry, and then he has to react to that incident by going after the people that employ him and going after certain people so that he can survive. And like, that is the blueprint for so many like assassin movies, and like, it kind of seems like a little bit of an archetype there, which plays into the movie's favor pretty well if you really key into it, which I kind of struggled with throughout it, but I can recognize that it's good for what it is, because he is, like, he's presenting himself as this trained killer that knows every move and does everything right. But throughout the movie, he does things, like, things happen that do not go as planned and do not go as he intends them to. And it's this very fine line of him doing things and him going into scenarios with certain expectations, and then the movie showcases how fallible he is, and how it's like this fine line of where other lesser movies would have shown him to be kind of a buffoon about it. He at least is, it's more of a kind of natural things go awry sort of thing, if that makes sense. but the biggest downside I had from it was that it is very much a low key kind of storyline. Like it's very unforgiving to the audience in terms of who certain people are, what their relationship is to Michael Fassbender's character, how the interactions that he has with these people inform on the greater narrative of it. It's very, very kind of discreet to the point where if you're not like fully invested in the movie, it's going to come across as a little dry and boring. And it almost did that for me, but it did hold my attention throughout it. And I don't know, I thought that it was fine. It was okay. So I rated it 3 stars. It's going to be on Netflix on November 10th. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. That was not on my radar at all. I mean, first of all, David Fincher, like, what's up, man? Where you been? Like,
yeah.
I never saw Mank.
Me
I
neither.
Never watched that. And before that, his last movie directing credit was Gone Girl in 2014.
Oh yeah. And then
it's like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. In the interim of that, I know that he produced and probably directed episodes of Mindhunter.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a movie? Like,
oh yeah, a movie. Yeah. And
wow,
it's crazy because like he's made some of my favorite movies like ever. And yeah, it's kind of insane. Mank is a movie that I feel like I could have liked if I gave it a shot, but I just circumstances. I think it came out during COVID. I had COVID when I tried to watch it, and I was like, I can't. Like, I think that the opening scene, like my symptoms were so severe that like the opening scene of Mank, like I was annoyed and angry at the sound of the typewriter keys. Like I was like, my head is pounding. I can't do this.
Wow.
So yeah. So
I just fully forgot about it, but yeah, like from a visual standpoint, he's a top 5 favorite director of mine, and it's just been a while since I've seen anything from him. So
yep.
Cool. Yeah, I'll watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, let me know what you think.
Sure.
Yeah, what do you got next for us, Tiny?
Up next, it'll be pretty brief, but I watched all the episodes of Ahsoka on Disney Plus. Yeah,
I have a clip from the trailer if you want me to bring us into
Oh
it.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, here we go. Clip from the trailer for Ahsoka.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one.
So Tiny, I know that you're a big fan of the Thrawn trilogy. How did you feel about Ahsoka and how that all panned out? I didn't watch any of it, so what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was really pretty solid. I really enjoyed it. That's part of the reason why I was so excited for this is because I came to the Thrawn trilogy, the books written by Timothy Zahn. I came to those probably about like 10 years ago at this point. I mean, it's been a while, which I was late to the game because they were written in the 90s, but I came to those, and those books are absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best Star Wars out there, like for sure.
Nice.
And so I immediately was like, who's going to play Thrawn in a movie? Like, it's got to happen. Somebody needs to do it. And there were rumors for years, and there were, actors saying, oh, I'd love to do it. He's a cool character. And most notably, Benedict Cumberbatch, people were talking about him. Would have been perfect. But yeah, so I've always been interested in seeing a live action Thrawn. And so anywhere Thrawn shows up, I was curious to see him. And so before I watched Ahsoka, I was familiar with the character of Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars, the animated series. That's her genesis. That's where she was from originally. And then after after Clone Wars, Dave Filoni, the creator of that, did another Star Wars animated series called Rebels, Star Wars Rebels. I just had never gotten around to that, and I should have because I knew Thrawn was in it. So I basically binged the shit out of Rebels over like 3 or 4 months.
Nice.
It was a really solid show. Like there's really good character. I really enjoy the way Dave Filoni navigates the Star Wars universe.
Nice.
I really want to see him do something more like adult, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people have been eating up The Mandalorian. People loved Ahsoka. And that's exactly what Dave Filoni needed to do. He needed to do like get away from like a kid show. He needed to do something more adult. And I'm not surprised at all that The Mandalorian and Ahsoka has been hugely successful, super good. Everyone's loving it. Like, because I'm just not surprised at all because he's a really good storyteller, and he, much like Stephen King, he focuses heavily on his characters.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's why even those kid shows, animated kid shows, it was not hard to watch them because that is present even in those shows. I loved the ragtag group of the Rebels, led by the character of Harris and Dula. They were just a really fun group, and I kind of fell in love with them. And thankfully, they all pretty much come back in Ahsoka, and so it was really fun to see live action versions of these characters that I had watched 100 episodes of animated. Nice. It was really cool to see live action versions. And then of course I was most excited to see Grand Admiral Thrawn, played by Lars Mikkelsen, and he also voiced the character phenomenally on Rebels. He was like a perfect voice for Thrawn.
Nice.
Yeah, like physically, the way he looks, like he looks great. He looks really good. But I would have chosen someone a little younger. But I think the age of Thrawn at this point in his story, it makes sense that he's a little bit older. But yeah, it was just so cool to find. I mean, like I said, I've been thinking about Thrawn live action for 10 years, and it was so cool to finally see it. And he was great. He did a great job. They wrote him brilliantly. I loved the story. It was so cool. Just it has this. It reminded me of how I felt about the Force Awakens back in 2015 when that came out. Like all this mythicism and lore about where's Luke Skywalker, and it's like where's Thrawn, and where's Ezra Bridger, the kind of the new upcoming Jedi guy in the series. It's just so it had this really cool mystery kind of feel to it, and it didn't abandon anything from the cartoons, which was really refreshing because he was like, no, I wrote a good story there and I'm going to stick to it. I don't care if it was a kid's show.
Nice.
I fully respect it. So great cast. R.I.P. Ray Stevenson. I had no idea he passed away.
That's right.
I mean, it's such a bummer because he was terrific in this. I really liked him a lot. He was his character was kind of being set up as like this kind of outsider villain that's like not like, he's not a Sith, but he's kind of evil. Okay. He's not a rebel either. Like he's kind of not good, not bad. He's kind of in between and almost anti-hero-ish, but I don't know. Like, it's a really cool idea, and it's really a shame that he was a great guy, really, really cool actor to watch, and it's a shame that he's gone. But really good cast throughout the whole show. Hayden Christensen comes back as Anakin Skywalker and did a great job. I actually liked him a lot more in this than I liked him. I liked him a lot more in this than
in Obi-Wan
Kenobi. Thank you.
Nice.
He was a lot better in this. I really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, Ahsoka was really good. I really liked it. I think I don't know. I wasn't super thrilled with Rosario Dawson. Like,
interesting.
They gave her plenty to work with. I feel like she was just playing it a little too guarded. I don't know. I wanted to see a little bit more range from the character, or a little bit more range from her performance, because Ahsoka Tano was very, very up and down in the Clone Wars, she was, because she's like a teenager in that.
Yeah.
And so she's very much a kid, but then she gets in these very serious situations and she's leading men into battle, but then she's got her teenage angst stuff going on. And she was just a really fun character. And I feel like that was missing a little bit in this. But I really hope, they keep doing more. And I don't know. I think these new Star Wars stories are really what the franchise needed. After the kind of stinker that was the newer trilogy, it's just great to see fresh Star Wars.
Nice. Yeah, I have been kind of on the fence. Like, I've been wanting to kind of dive into the newer stuff, but I'm just so over trying to get into Star Wars. So
that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll buckle down and watch the newer stuff. But I'm glad you liked it though, and I'm glad it was good.
I mean, Ahsoka's kind of hard to get to because there's so much backstory for the animated show. So it's kind of it meant a lot more to like probably me and other people who were fans of those shows. So if you didn't see those, it's probably not as impressive. But like the Mandalorian, I know you've only watched some of that.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good.
I think I've seen the first 2 seasons of the Mandalorian, and like it's
okay.
Maybe of everything that I've seen of Star Wars, which I've seen all the movies plus that and other stuff too, I'm sure. But the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian is some of my favorite of anything Star Wars that I've seen. And I mean,
nice.
Granted, my enjoyment or lack thereof of the franchise as a whole, it like that makes it kind of a lower bar to meet. But it's still like it's the kind of Star Wars that I really wanted to be. Like it plays into that whole Western fantasy thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, that is on Disney Plus. And we're running a little bit long. I'm going to do one more if that's cool. And then if you want to round us out after that, we can call it a night. But my next one is for a movie that is currently in theaters and streaming on Peacock. It is Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm going to play a clip from the trailer right now.
Hi, this is Mike. I was just calling to see if that job that you offered was still available.
Yes. The security guard.
I will take anything.
This place was huge in the 80s with the kids. They shut it down years ago. The owner's just not ready to let it go yet.
I will work and you will sleep.
I understand.
Give me your hand.
So, Five Nights at Freddy's is based on the popular video game franchise, and the plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, is a troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's. The movie is directed by Emma Tammy, and writers are Scott Cawthon, who made the video game, Seth Kudback, Emma Tammy, and screen story credits for Chris Lee Hill and Tyler McIntyre. The movie stars Josh Hutcherson, Piper Rubio, Elizabeth Lale, and Matthew Lillard, as well as Mary Stuart Masterson. Like I said, it's currently streaming on Peacock and it is in theaters. So I am very happy that the movie's fan base seems to like it. I didn't like it all that much, but I also recognize that I am not someone who is in the demographic for it. And I can recognize that it clearly has things for the intended audience that will be more meaningful for them than it will ever be for me. And that is phenomenal. I'm super happy for that. And more importantly, I like the idea. I like that this is gateway horror for younger audiences. This is horror that young audiences will see, and it will kind of grow them into horror fans when they come of age and seek out more adult horror, basically. So I am very thrilled that it's successful, and I'm thrilled that it's successful at that. But for me personally, I wasn't really that receptive to it. There are elements of it that just feel a little bit like there were too many cooks in the kitchen, and it felt like there were too many things going all at once. Like the whole plot of Mike, the security guard, having this traumatic past that he's trying to solve a mystery of his past by basically lucid dreaming. That was a weird curveball for me in the movie. And it kind of asks you to believe in some weird concepts that I felt like weren't propped up well enough in the movie because it was in contention with so many other subplots. There's another subplot involving Mike's custody battle for custody of his young sister that was like it was in a completely different movie. Like his aunt, played by Mary Stuart Masterson, is a cartoon villain. She is like Cruella de Vil in like a Disney Plus Freddy, Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Like she's like a very again, she's like a Disney Channel movie villain in a gateway horror movie. Then that just doesn't mesh well. It is so weird to see, because like she has like this lawyer that is very like oafish and weird, and like he's staring off into space, and there's nothing to that subplot that is paid off in any meaningful way. And it's jarring. So that's a couple of the negatives. The positives for me were in the way that the animatronics of the Freddy Fazbear's like monsters basically were used. And it's a little bit less, like there's not quite enough there for my overall liking, but what we do get is pretty cool. Like it's pretty cool, it's pretty intimidating. There's a long stretch of the movie where they're not intimidating, and that was weird, and like they're friendly, and it was annoying really, and it kind of really like took in all the air of suspense for like an extended period of time in the movie, and I felt like that was just a complete misstep. But when they are active as threatening beings, they are frightening, and they are very well done in terms of the overall production. So that was a really cool kind of visual thing, and really cool. It led to a couple of really interesting and fun and intense set pieces. But overall, I didn't really care all that much for Five Nights at Freddy's. Like I said, the fan base seems to love it. I'm super happy for that, and I wouldn't besmirch anyone's enjoyment of the movie. But for me personally, I didn't really care all that much for it. So I rated it 2 stars. I did a Patreon exclusive immediate reaction recording on it, and a TikTok video as well. But yeah, wasn't really for me, but I appreciate what it achieved in its in the way that it is geared toward a young audience. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I've yeah, it's on a Peacock, and NASCAR is on NBC. So like, they are promoting the shit out of this movie. So I've seen the trailer like 7,000 times, and I thought it looked kind of quirky and kind of like fun horror. So I was pretty interested in it. So I'm glad that you watched it. I still might check it out just because it looks so bananas, I guess.
Yeah, I would honestly recommend it. Like it's not a bad time. It just really wasn't for me.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah. Yep. Do you want to close us out with the final Patreon thing for episode 400 of The Obsessive Viewer?
Yeah, sure. This will be pretty brief, but my wife and I recently watched the final season 4 of Sex Education on Netflix, which is just a truly, truly phenomenal show. If you haven't watched it, you really should. It's so entertaining. It's inspiring. It's hilarious. Some of the best characters on TV. Just such a great show. And it's a British show, so they kind of did the limited that which I so appreciate, the kind of less is more thing that kind of attitude they have over there. I really appreciate that. The whole show is 32 episodes. I mean, it's nothing crazy. The fourth season was the only season that really felt kind of rushed, like they were trying to cram everything in and get it done. I mean, it went from 2019 to 2023, but I could have sworn it started like 10 years ago. It feels like the episodes came out every other year or something. I don't know. It just has this. It felt like there was such a long time between episodes, but anyways, the ending was still really good. The characters are just so fun and so deep and incredible and layered and just so good that you can't not have a good time with the show. But it really did feel rushed. I feel like they actually kind of needed a fifth season to expand some of these storylines from this fourth season. We didn't have a lot of time with some of them, and that was a shame. Aja Butterfield is a great actor. I've been a fan of his. He's a child actor who is kind of transitioning into to adult acting, and I hope he makes it because he's really talented. But the standout to me is an actor who I'd never seen in anything else. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right, but in Kuti Gatwa is his name.
I've heard about it. He's going to be one of the next Doctor.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, because David Tennant is coming back for a brief run, and then he's going to be the next Doctor after him.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. He'll be fantastic at it. He is so good. Like, he is just... I'm pretty sure he plays a gay character in the show, and I think he's gay in real life. I would be surprised if he wasn't. Either that or he's the best actor that's ever lived. He is just so hilarious. Like, he's so funny and just magnetic, but he has these super powerful, dramatic moments in the show that are just bookended by him being goofy and funny, and I am astounded by him. He is so talented as an actor. He was the standout to me throughout all 4 seasons. But yeah, if you haven't seen the show, you really should. It's so, and it's set at a high school or a secondary school, whatever the hell they call it over in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But it is it is not a teen show. Like, it's not some goofy teen comedy like American Pie. Like, it is way more than that. Truly just a brilliant show, and I highly recommend it.
Nice. I will definitely be on the lookout for that. I will definitely check it out. It is on Netflix. I was gonna make a stupid joke when you had mentioned that you were gonna bring up Sex Education. I was gonna so dumb. It's gonna be like, okay, yes, good. I have my pencil and paper here. So
let me get my banana.
Yeah, Jesus. So dumb, but
yes, we are.
Yes. But yeah, well, that's cool. I will check that out. Anything else for episode 400?
No, congrats on 400 episodes, bro.
Yes, same to you. Very, very excited to event like the next. Obviously, the next benchmark is going to be 500 and 600 and everything. But when we get to 1,000, that's where we'll know that we made it. So So
man.
yeah. Anyway, that will do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer, episode 400. Like I said before, check out Patreon if you liked what you heard here, and you want to support us while getting a slew of exclusive content that I work really hard at. Check out patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. I post a lot of stuff on there, so check that out. And yeah, Tiny, any parting thoughts?
Just thanks for listening, guys.
Yes, thanks for listening, and I think next week we may do something for the Marvels. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play us out. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening, and follow us on social media, Obsessive Viewer, Obsessive Tiny. Find everything there. Also Letterboxd. We love Letterboxd. Yeah, that's Obsessive Viewer and Obsessive Tiny. Yeah, I'm trying to get to the point of the jingle. There we go. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. And now, enjoy this short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. For the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, such as early access to episodes, TV, book, and movie reviews and reaction recordings, commentary tracks, and Patreon potpourri episodes, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. People arrive on the scene toward the end of the movie that feels a little bit like the movie's trying a little bit too hard to force action and force horror into an enclosed space, basically. That's all I'll say about that. And that felt a little bit ham-fisted for me. But on a similar note, the lead up to that, like in the first couple of acts of the movie, there's some pretty decent characterization for Peter as a character. He's bullied at school pretty severely, and I really like the way that is handled in this movie. There is a kind of run of scenes involving him and his tormentor and his bully, and then the way that the voice in his room influences him to take action against that's stuff that I wanted more of. We got to see, like, there's one situation that comes up as a result of that, and then that kind of does...
This podcast was edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find links to all of our shows at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. For exclusive bonus content, including reviews, commentaries, and B-roll episodes, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.